Look, AI is advancing at a pace that's kind of mind-boggling, right? And the real question isn't if our jobs are going to change, but how we're going to stay valuable. So in this explainer, we're going to break down the key human skills that will make you, well, indispensable.
Okay, let's just say it. It feels like AI is absolutely everywhere, and that anxiety is real. That little voice asking, is it coming for my job? That's the big question on everyone's mind. So what's the plan? What do we do? Well, that's what we're here to figure out, together. All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the AI question, then dive into your human intuition, the currency of trust, deciding in the dark, and the power of stillness. We'll wrap it all up with a practical reinvention plan. Let's get into it. First up, your human intuition. You know, in this age of AI, we're all obsessed with getting the right answers. But what if our real superpower, our most valuable contribution, is actually asking the right questions? And get this, it's not just a hunch. Researchers over at MIT found that a full 50% of good AI results didn't come from better, fancier models. Nope, they came from humans asking better questions. In fact, when they let the AI try to generate the questions, the results actually got worse. That right there, that's our human edge. Let me give you a killer example of this in action. Picture this. Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, is thinking about making the company's very first original series. But he's facing a huge wall of data. Every single algorithm, every predictive model he had was basically screaming, "No, don't do it, bad idea." But Hastings had this gut feeling. He sensed something that the data just couldn't capture. He felt a shift in the culture, this new hunger for darker, more complex stories. That was pure human intuition going head-to-head with the machine's prediction, and he went with his gut. That bet, by the way, was on a little show called House of Cards, and boy did it pay off. That one decision to trust intuition over the data completely transformed Netflix. It took them from an $8 billion company in 2013 to a powerhouse worth over $500 billion today. It's just a stark reminder that sometimes the most important data isn't going to be in any spreadsheet. So how do you sharpen your own intuition? Well, you can start by looking past the data and asking, what is this not showing me? Then, spend the vast majority of your time, like 80% of it, just crafting the perfect question, not racing to an answer. And finally, get out there. The most important trends show up in the real world long before they ever hit a data set. So intuition gets you to the right decision. But our next skill, this is what gets people to actually follow you. Let's talk about the currency of trust, because it's a uniquely human asset that AI simply cannot generate. Think about this for a second. Mount Sinai Hospital has an AI that can diagnose certain types of lung cancer with an incredible 94% accuracy. I mean, the machine is competent. There's absolutely no question about it. But here is the crucial part. The trust isn't formed with the machine. It happens when the human doctor looks at all that data, sits down with the patient, and says, okay, here's what I think we should do. That final exchange, the currency of trust, is always between people. It's not with an algorithm. And the stakes for trust? They're enormous. Take the 2008 financial crisis. At its core, that wasn't a mathematical problem that an algorithm could solve. It was a psychological one. It was a crisis of confidence, a complete run on trust in the system. And no amount of data crunching could have fixed that fundamental human element. It just reminds us that our entire economy is built on this foundation of human-to-human trust. So we have intuition and we have trust. But what happens when you don't have a clear answer or a trusted path? Well, that brings us to our third essential skill, deciding in the dark, which is really the ability to act decisively when everything's up in the air. So Harvard did this fascinating 10-year study. They followed 17,000 executives, looking for what separates the best from the rest. And the single defining trait they found? The ability to make a call when the stakes are high and you just don't have all the information. You want a real-world example? Look no further than the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. In just a few hours, $42 billion were pulled from the bank. Regulators were frozen, algorithms were paralyzed, nobody could keep up. In the middle of all that chaos, one person, Jamie Dimon, picked up the phone, rallied 11 rival banks, and put together a $30 billion injection that stabilized the entire system. That, my friends, was human decisiveness in action. And the good news is, this is a muscle you can actually train. First, follow the 70% rule. If you're 70% confident, it's time to act. If you wait for 100%, you're already too late. Second, make one low-stakes decision every single day without overthinking it. And third, keep a decision log.
It helps you learn from your choices, both the good and the bad. You know, in a world that is obsessed with speed, our fourth skill might be the most counterintuitive and maybe the most powerful of all. The power of stillness. It's about mastering your inner state, especially when the outer world is pure chaos.
And this isn't some fluffy idea. There's a reason companies like Google and Goldman Sachs are pouring money into mindfulness training. The science backs it up. A Harvard study found that just 30 days of meditation can reduce stress by a staggering 32%. Because let's be honest, when the system crashes at 3 a.m., you don't need another algorithm. You need a human who can stay calm and think clearly under pressure.
Here's a super simple tool you can use anytime. It's from cognitive behavioral therapy. It's called the STOP framework. When you feel overwhelmed, just remember, slow down, take a breath, observe what's happening inside, and only then, proceed mindfully. It's all about responding with intention, not just reacting on impulse.
Okay, so how do we weave all of these skills together? Well, that leads us to our final section, building your reinvention plan. This isn't about learning just one new thing. It's about becoming a lifelong learner so you can constantly stay ahead of the game.
And this isn't just a nice idea, it's an absolute necessity. The 2023 IBM Global Skills Report found that a massive 85% of organizations see the ability to learn and adapt as the single most critical skill for the future.
So that old model of education, go to school, get a degree, work for 40 years, then retire, that's over. It's completely done. The old university is dead. The new one is a continuous, lifelong journey of reinventing yourself. Your personal reinvention plan can be built on these 4 pillars of human intelligence. There's physical intelligence, which is your expertise in the messy, real world. Strategic intelligence, your judgment under pressure. Emotional intelligence, which is all about empathy and building real connections. And finally, you could call it spiritual intelligence, the ability to just keep an even mind no matter how volatile the world gets. Ultimately, the goal here isn't to try and outcompute AI. It's a losing battle. It's to cultivate the skills that it can never, ever possess. And there's this powerful quote that captures it perfectly. AI may one day produce 1,000 Einsteins, but it will never produce a single Buddha. The future, then, it belongs to those who cultivate not just intelligence, but real human wisdom.